I, Before philosophy, 600 years before Christ, people told myths and performed a lot of rites. They used these to explain natural things. The stories had morals and the characters had wings. For instance, here's a bit of mythology. Thor was the Norse god of fertility. The first philosophers set out to learn how changes occur in nature, not supernaturally, and transform the thought of later centuries. Parmenides was a man who thought kinda strangely. He didn't believe in actual changely. Human reason, his faith was in this. Parmenides, therefore, was a rationalist. Heraclitus, he was Parmenides' foe. He thought that nature constantly flowed. Without an interplay of opposites, the world would be ceasing. He also believed in a universal reason. Democritus.
What?
Democritus. He grabbed the Greeks' thought and rocked it thus. Everything is built of tiny building blocks. These things are indivisible and harder than rocks. Something else interesting, sirs and madams. These eternal little things he called atoms. Sophist, you may not even know this. Morality of man only needs control this. That's what Protagoras was speaking of. Sounds like the character Raskolnikov. Socrates wouldn't put up with any fuss. Instead of lecturing, he discussed. He asked a lot of questions, and by this did he create a technique called Socratic irony. Wasn't a man that conformed to the laws. He was sentenced to death for not believing in the gods. He believed that reason was sharper than a knife. He died because he valued truth more than life. Plato was a student of the men mentioned above. Ideals and immutables are what he thought of. Everything material eventually dissolves, and ideal forms were his eventual resolve. Aristotle wasn't a very fun guy. Read his works and you'll soon see why. All of his writings are dry and biologic. However, he did found the science of logic. Cynic said happiness wasn't in possessions. Health, power, ladies, or deep fried concessions. Around 300 BC, a man named Epicurus. And sensory enjoyment would surely cure us. Corporeal pleasure is really, really great. Sounds like Deja Vu of 1968. The world's a space between the two poles. There's a side for the good and a side for the bad souls. You may really like or you may hate this one, but that's what comprises Neoplatonism. Saint Augustine, the man who Christianized Plato, cause he thought the two were together great, yo. Saint Thomas Aquinas, the only thing I can think of to rhyme is Linus from Peanuts. Basically, he Christianized Aristotle in the same way that Augustine Christianized Plato, and he believed that truth can be reached through Christian faith and reason. Sorry about that. In 1596 was born Immanuel Kant. He thought men weren't really that smart, but unlike Socrates, he wasn't killed for treason, and they thought that certain knowledge is attained by reason. Don't get bored, we'll be ending soon. It was he who said, cogito ergo sum. Gott ist in allen, alles ist in Gott. That's what philosopher Spinoza taught. Then three philosophers gave their 2 cents. Locke, Hume, and Berkeley were empiricists. We can only know what we've experienced physically, so words like God in heaven send them into a tizzy. Immanuel Kant says the reason decides the good and the bad and the wrong and the right. For instance, human reason said it's not good to kill, and only when we use a reason do we have free will. And Soren Kierkegaard... Kierkegaard? Really? Essentially, Kierkegaard was, especially toward the end of his life, very critical of society and of Christianity as a whole. He's best known for coining the term existentialism, which basically means bringing the whole of existence into one's philosophical contemplation. He said that Christianity and knowledge were like fire and water, and that's basically all about Kierkegaard. two words in the communist philosophy: proletariat and bourgeoisie. Here's a tidbit so you get an A on your testo. Engels and Marx wrote the Communist Manifesto. I did this by myself, didn't use a full band. I hope I changed your Immanuel Kant into can. Dig it! It wasn't made of thought, kind of strange.